Welcome to Moneyline with Nancy. I am Nancy Nigerian. It's so nice to know that you're joining us again today. Let's get started. Nigeria's financial markets opened the month of November on a volatile note, with the Naira and Euro bonds coming under intense pressure following U.S. President Donald Trump's threat of possible military action against Nigeria. The trigger, a statement made on Truth Social, where Trump accused the Nigerian government of alleged genocide against Christians and announced his decision to classify Nigeria as a country of particular concern on religious freedom. This designation, under the United States International Religious Freedom Act of 1998, carries significant economic and diplomatic implications. It authorizes the U.S. government to impose a range of sanctions, from trade and investment restrictions to aid cuts, visa limitations, and even opposition to multilateral financing from institutions like the IMF and World Bank. According to data from the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Naira, which had reached a 2025 high of 1,421 Naira to the dollar, weakened to 1,436 Naira at the official window and 1,455 Naira at the parallel market, its biggest one-day loss since June. Now, the Nigerian Euro bonds also took a hit, ranking among the 10 worst performers in frontier markets, emerging markets, with the 2047 notes sliding to 88.26% on the dollar. Investor sentiment turned risk off as foreign portfolio investors, who were already nervous about perhaps a few of uncertainties, shifted capital to safer assets. So what we are seeing now is a combination of political, or perhaps diplomatic, and economic risk premiums rising simultaneously. Geopolitical uncertainty, of course, can weigh heavily on exchange rates, on equities, like we're saying, on fixed income securities, especially in fragile emerging markets like Nigeria. If the United States moves beyond what it is saying now, some say it is rhetoric. However, if they move beyond where they are now into sanctionary actions, the economic cost could be far-reaching. The country of particular concern designation, if fully activated, allows the U.S. to restrict trade and export licenses, reduce security or development aid, like President Trump has said, oppose loans from global financial institutions, like I mentioned earlier, and trigger broader international isolation. Such a move could compound existing vulnerabilities, including inflation that we're trying to get under control, higher inflation that we're actually trying to get under control, elevated debt service costs, and the struggling exchange rate. In the short term, investors' confidence could wane, further capital inflows could slow, and the cost of foreign borrowing could climb sharply. The impact could also be felt in the equities market, as risk aversion could prompt foreign sell-offs while domestic investors move towards safe havens. Nigeria's dependence on external investment and dollar inflows make it particularly also sensitive to global perceptions. So for those of you within the media saying, oh, President Trump is just saying, or he's just talking, it's just rhetoric, what he's saying is a threat to our global economic stability and governance. That's what you people don't know. Even that talk alone is a problem for us. So any diplomatic fallout that leads to international isolation or sanctionary actions could deepen the country's foreign exchange risk, giving more problem to Olayemi Cardoso and his team. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has since rejected Trump's claims, defending Nigeria's commitment to religious freedom and national unity. But this underscores the need for stronger diplomatic engagement. We just got media reports a few hours ago that President Tinubu has appointed or is taking steps to appoint ambassadors. But we've been saying it times without number for almost the last 2 years, that not appointing ambassadors open us to economic and diplomatic vulnerabilities. Must it take a President Trump's threat from Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu to do the right thing? We all know what is happening in this country. As media people will say times without number. If you say times without number, they'll be like, oh, you are not a friend of the government. Oh, you don't like the government. But one thing is that the truth would always be truth, and not just reactionary responses that we've been looking at. Now, let's take a look at the economics of this. Market reacts not only to what is happening, but also to what might happen. The threat itself, even without immediate sanctions, has introduced uncertainty into Nigeria's risk profile. I should assume that our economic officials should be like in a room now trying to look at how that risk perception translates directly into the country's cost of capital. For example, a single basis point increase in Nigerian Eurobond yields could add millions of dollars to future debt servicing costs in Nigeria, which are already high. Foreign investors, both portfolio and direct, will now reassess exposure to Nigeria, not only because of macroeconomic fragility, but because of the diplomatic cloud hanging over the country. So the real economic cost of isolation is also about access. If multilateral financing perhaps is curtailed, and take a look at it, IMF and World Bank are located in Washington, D.C., or if they are blocked, projects in infrastructure, health, and energy could face funding delays. So no one should say President Trump is bluffing, that he's just Trump. He's just Trump and he could do anything because he's just Trump. So aid reductions could further strain an already stressed fiscal framework. Meanwhile, any trade restrictions could hurt exporters, particularly in agriculture, oil, where the United States still remains a strategic market and partner. So in essence, this is a moment for diplomacy, not defiance. Nigeria's best strategy is to launch an immediate diplomatic engagement, engaging the U.S. State Department, the Congress, and religious freedom organizations to clarify facts and reaffirm commitment to human rights and religious tolerance. While you are reaffirming that to international people, you are making us here in Nigeria feel safe. No Nigerian feels safe now. So will it take a President Trump to make Mr. Tinubu and his service chiefs, the new ones now, perhaps they'll come up with something new, to let us know that, oh, Nigeria is not as safe as it used to be? In parallel, economic policymakers must work to stabilize the markets. Like I mentioned earlier on, they should be looking at those numbers now, perhaps ensuring FX liquidity, engaging investors directly. So while Mr. Tinubu and his people are doing the diplomatic and politics thing, our economic officials should also be engaging investors directly and communicating policy consistency to reduce panic selling and capital flight. Of course, in the end, markets hate uncertainty, and what Nigeria needs now is a calm, coordinated diplomatic and economic response that builds confidence. So we should all stand together, united with one voice at this time. And I think that's how I'll end this interview. For us, you know, insecurity in one place is insecurity in everywhere. Everywhere. You know, if one is hot, all of us are hot. So we should, as a country, but I must also put this caveat. The leadership should also start from government to be able to galvanize all of us at this time. The spokespeople of government, there should be that semblance of unity of language, and not just saying things to even infuriate people the more, you know. And there's this thing, I think, in economy, whether they say the economic cost of silence. Yes. You know, sometimes what we need to say right now are the right things. And more importantly, Nigerians should see that President Tinubu and his officials, those that he has given the toga of authority, are doing everything to fight this insecurity. Be it Boko Haram, be it any form of terrorism, be it kidnapping, be it whatever. Nigerians, most importantly, should feel safe.